Okay, guys, so we've looked at the humoral response in immunity involving B lymphocytes, and now we're going to look at the cell-mediated response involving T lymphocytes. Just a brief note about that before we begin. We'll mostly look at how cytotoxic T lymphocytes work. Just be aware there are also a group of T lymphocytes called helper T cells. And these are really like one of the main coordinating cells in the immune system. So they're also involved in the activation of B lymphocytes in the humoral response. And then they do also help activate the cytotoxic T cells we'll look at today. So just be aware that helper T cells do have a role in the humoral response. They help in the activation of the B lymphocytes. Anyway, so basically, T cells receive antigens usually from antigen-presenting cells, which then activates them. That happens in lymph nodes, so that's all very similar. But the whole reason that this is called cell-mediated is because the cytotoxic T cells, which get activated, directly kill the cells that they're fighting against. So not like the humoral response, where they make a molecule that stops the pathogen. These directly go and stop the pathogen. So that's why it's called cell-mediated immunity. And when looking at those cells that I mentioned, cytotoxic T cells, cyto means cells, and toxic obviously means poisonous or deadly to something. So they're literally deadly to the cells they're targeting. And the main way they function is by releasing chemicals to destroy the target cell. They can do that in a number of ways, but the most common way is by releasing chemicals that cause them to lyse or burst. So that's one of the main ways they function. So cytotoxic T cells are particularly effective in fighting against viruses, and that's because they can destroy the cell that the virus is multiplying in. You may remember, viruses cause disease by getting into a cell and then using that cell's machinery to make many, many copies of the viruses and then spreading out and infecting new cells. A cytotoxic T cell can destroy that host cell before the viruses spread out of it. So they're very effective against viruses in that way. They're also very good at picking up on cancerous cells. When cancerous cells are growing, they can often give off different antigens to regular healthy cells, and cytotoxic T cells are capable of picking up on that and destroying them. That's also the reason why they're able to kill virus-infected cells. When a cell is infected by a virus, it will display some of the viral antigens on its major histocompatibility complexes. So again, they can recognize that and destroy it when they need to. So that's two of the major ways that they function. They can destroy virus-infected cells and they can destroy cancerous cells. There's almost, it doesn't affect many people, but there can be a disadvantage of cytotoxic T cells. They're so good at picking up on abnormal antigens that for people who undergo an organ transplant, they can pick up the different antigens on the transplant organ, and they may attack the organ that's been transplanted. So as a result of that, people who undergo an organ transplant normally have to take immunosuppressant drugs. Immunosuppressant literally means it suppresses the immune system, specifically the T cells. And that's good because it stops their new organ being destroyed. But obviously, if they're taking immunosuppressants, their immune system is not as strong as it could be, which has impacts as well. So I've just put down here a very simple diagram of how cytotoxic T cells work. So here it is, recognizing a viral antigen on an infected cell, and then it releases a chemical to the infected cell. This chemical I've got here is perforin, and perforin basically destroys the cell membrane of the cell, causes it to burst, and just destroys it, basically. And the final thing about the cell-mediated response is that some memory T cells are also produced, similar to the humoral response where memory B cells are produced. And again, those memory T cells stay alive for a long, long time, possibly, over decades they stay around for, and they can quickly fight off the infection if it ever comes back. So that just overviews the cell-mediated response, the idea being that cytotoxic T cells directly destroy virus-infected or cancerous cells. And there are also helper T cells, which help activate cytotoxic T cells and are also involved in the humoral response, and memory T cells also get made. Okay, and that is hopefully our last video lesson for a while. Looking forward to being back at school. See ya.